Okay guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a unattended install of a vCenter server appliance. This particular one is 6.7 U3. And the reason that I'm doing this is in the previous videos I've shown you how to create nested ESXi template and VMs. And we're going to be doing a couple of other cool workflows, but before I do that, I want to start with a clean vCenter. Our next video is really going to be targeted at doing some vCenter specific configuration for the home lab. And so I figured this would be as good a time as any just to throw in here this video of how you can do this process. I don't really know that I can pull this off in 5 minutes or less as I've done in the previous videos, but I thought this was really important because for those of us that have installed vCenter numerous times, it's a whole bunch of clicking and waiting and putting in information and a number of, just tasks that we need to do that's kind of very time consuming. The nice thing about this is that you can kick this off and walk away. Not only does it do the initial push of the appliance, but it also comes back and it does the identity customization of vCenter as well. Basically what I'm saying is that when this process is complete, you can actually log into the vCenter, create your data center, add your clusters, so on and so forth. As we look through this, while that's deploying, just a couple things, right? So prerequisite number one, you actually need to take the VCSA ISO and you need to extract it onto a local directory on your machine. For purposes of this video, I've put it on my R drive. I've extracted it to a folder called VCSA, and this is the default directory structure just from extracting of the ISO. If we go into the CLI installer, there's a file here that I have created. It's called VCSA-internal. It's a JSON file. I've actually got that open down here just to kind of show you what that is. This has all of my specific information in it. This is the IP address of my ESX host along with my login credentials, the network that I want to attach the VCSA to, the data store that it will be deployed on, information about the deployment choice from a thin disk perspective, what's the name that I want to give this particular virtual machine, its IP information, obviously DNS for name resolution, gateway, subnet prefix, fully qualified domain name, etc., etc. You'll see that it also is going to establish your single sign-on domain as well as credentials to log in there as well. So this process takes a little bit. As I said, it's a pretty straightforward thing. There is essentially a command that you'll type. You can see it up there at the top. I'm going to scroll all the way up here just to kind of show you. But if you navigate to the Win32 directory that's inside of VCSA and then the VCSA CLI installer directory, then there's a VCSA-deploy tool. And so what we've done is we've said, let's deploy, let's do an install. We're going to bypass the SSL certification. We're going to accept the EULA by default. We're going to acknowledge the CEIP. And we're going to point to that JSON file. And so it's going to update the log information, it executes the task, and this is where it begins the variety of checks that it's going to do. And as I just kind of scroll down through here, you can see it's targeting an ESX host, it's telling me that it's managed by another vCenter server, it's validated the appliance name, it has checked data store free space. It's verified that the single sign-on information is valid by connecting to the STS service. So you can just see there's a number of things that it does. You can see as I've got a console open to that virtual machine that it's doing a variety of tasks. And there we go. So just a couple things, right? You can see that it has the customization that I put into the JSON file. In this particular example, it's called lab-vcsa03.myhomelab.local. It's got the IP address of 192.168.76.20. You can see over here that the virtual machine tools are reporting the same exact thing. And that is a good sign. Once this comes up, it does take a little bit for it to continue to give it its identity. And if I was just to open this up over here and attempt to go to this from a web browser perspective, and as it's still going through its process, I expect to see that it's continuing its install. So as you can see here, just from a status check perspective, it's still doing RPM installation. It's not quite completed. I tend to like this view only because I'm nosy and I want to know what's happening, especially when I'm doing these things for the first time. So I can see what's happening over here from the traditional way that we're used to logging in and checking on status. I can see the console of the virtual machine itself. And I can also see what's happening over here with the CLI information that I typed in. And we can see that it's moved on to stage 2 and that the appliance setup is in process. Now we know this takes quite a bit of time. My point is, for this particular video, other than being nosy and poking around and trying to show everyone exactly what's happening, I've not been required to put any input into this whatsoever since I typed that initial command. And to me, that's the coolest part. Kick this off, you can get up and walk away. You know VCSA takes about 20 minutes or so to deploy, and then you can come back and it's just there waiting for you, ready, configured the way you expected it to be. And I just find this process very valuable. For the hundreds of times that I've deployed the VCSA, I've never actually taken the time to do it this way. And now that I've done it this way, I don't really think that I'll ever go back to the traditional method again. Well guys, here we are. It completed successfully, 100%. You can click on the link. Everything looks good. I get logged in, and there you have it. Brand new, freshly deployed, 100% unattended install of the VCSA appliance.